She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. The claws in my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this edition of the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Welcome to the close of yet another day. But I've been waiting for you, and you guys finally got here. It got to be the time, so the portal is launched. Just recorded a podcast just a bit ago with our good friend Deb, so that'll be coming up in the weeks to come here. Not here, actually. It'll be on the podcast, so I hope you guys have all checked out the podcast. If you haven't, you can find the Paranormal Portal podcast anywhere on any of the major podcast distributors, such as iHeart. We got our own channel there. Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, and so many more. And again, special thanks to Revolver for making all this possible. And again, a nod to Mr. Wes Germer for putting us on that path. But we got another podcast dropping tomorrow. That'll be a new one as well. And that's one that I recorded a few days ago, I guess, with Mr. Naysay. Kevin Shores, he joined me and we discussed the UFOs in our modern world. So, the aliens among us was kind of the topic for that one. But that'll be dropping tomorrow. Actually, it'll be dropping at midnight, so could be. I think it uses Eastern time, so it really could be any time. But that'll be coming up tomorrow. So if you're not already checking out our podcasts, please do so. It would go a long way in helping us and making this grow. It's really important for us to get all those numbers up so that we can tackle bigger and greater things. So I hope you guys will do that. Check out the podcasts on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. And so I hope you all are ready because it's time for bed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here. We are now underway on the Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. Again, the phone number, the phone lines are always open. I guess I'll spit it out eventually if you give me enough time. The phone lines are always open here on the portal, and if you have something paranormal you'd like to talk about or to share with our listeners, please feel free. The call-in number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. So that is definitely always an option. But if you're not really a public speaker and calling kind of really freaks you out or you feel intimidated by that, you can also just email us if that's easier for you. Just email us at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com and let me know in there if you want to be named or if you'd rather be anonymous or if you have a name you'd rather use for your story, whatever. And I'll be happy to read your stories as well. Just a lot of things going on, and it's a lot of work doing all of these shows, but I got to tell you, it's always a labor of love. It's just something I love doing, and I love seeing it growing into what it's becoming. So, and a special thank you to all of you who are here watching and sharing the word and making all of this happen. So it's pretty impressive and overwhelming at times, but just an amazing, amazing thing. So anyway, we are currently ready to do some bedtime stories. So I hope you're currently ready to listen to some, because I got a whole batch of them here just right out of the oven, right out of the Paranormal Portal ovens. Cooked up a fresh batch of bedtime stories for you. So let's get to those, unless there's anything I'm missing or anything I need to notice. But it looks like we're right on schedule here, so let's get going. Oh, it's so great to see all you guys piling in. Hey, Lewis. Jerry, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Let me see who's here. I'm just going to go through the roster here if it'll give me a reasonable list. I see Bigfoot, Michigan Rob is here, Black Tree is here, Deb is here, Jerry Klein is here, Jess Mink, Krista Monster Truck Gal is here, LJD, and by the way, thank you, LJD. I did see that comment. That was very nice. Lewis, good to see you, brother. Rand Electric, Strange Realms is in here. That's wonderful. Good to see you, Robin. Suzanne Lucero O'Brien is in here, and Suzanne Page. 2 Suzannes in one night. That's pretty awesome. I don't know. You could all be named for Susan for all I know, but I can only read the names as I see them. But it's great to see you all. And if that wasn't a complete list, I'm sorry. I don't even know how to say that, but somebody ku aloha aka aloha. Aloha to you. Thank you. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but very cool. I love the characters you used in that, though. That's awesome. And if anybody else is in here and wants me to say hello, please let me know. I did. Okay. Lucero. That's right, huh? I can roll that tongue. That's the gift, I'm telling you. All right. So let's get going here and see what we can get into. Hi. Good to see you, Robin. I'm always pleased to see you roll in. By the way, I got to get in touch with you. We got to do a podcast. So I'm trying to catch up. It's on my to-do list, which is growing daily. So I will be getting in touch with you very soon, though, Robin. Thank you. All right. So let's continue here. The first story tonight is coming out of California, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why they include that. So the first time I was ever in the Holly's house in Chula Vista was when I was 15 years old. I think this must be the same person writing a lot of stories about this area. And I don't know what's going on in Chula Vista, but they definitely got some issues going on over there. So let me get back to the story. When I was 15 years old, although I had heard the things Holly had told me, since I didn't believe in those sort of things at that point, it didn't bother me to go there. And there were a few times I thought I saw things move, like shadows or something, or heard footsteps. That would give me chills, but I would say it was just an older house and it just made noise. For me, the part of the house that always seemed to have weird things happen in it was the bathroom. When you walked into the bathroom, there was a toilet directly to the right and the vanity with a mirror on the left, and a wall across from the shower on the right wall, and a small window in between the two on the back wall. And almost every time I used the bathroom, I would feel really strange in that room. And there, even when the door was locked, it would occasionally still open on its own. Yeah, that's creepy. The time that really freaked me out was that I remember vividly was in the summer of 97. I just turned 16 years old and I had my license to drive, and Holly and I were hanging out, and we were going to go out that night, and Holly was going to make us lunch, and while I was going to take a bath and to shave my legs, and we were listening to some music, and the boombox was just inside the window on the counter, and Holly came over and opened the window so she could hear it as well. I was relaxing in the tub when all of a sudden the music just stopped. I yelled, "Turn it back on," because I thought Holly had reached in and turned it off to mess with me. And I then heard loud footsteps in the back room by the window, and I thought it was her, so I told her again to turn it back on. When the music didn't come back on, I got up and wrapped the towel around me and looked out the window, and there was nobody there. I turned to walk to the door, and it was open, even though I know I did lock it. I walked out to the kitchen, and there was Holly still making lunch and asked me, why did I turn off the music? And I told her, "Shut up, you turned it off. That's messed up. It was a good song." Holly then said while laughing it off, "Whatever, dude, whatever, dude, don't try to freak me out." I replied, "Seriously, I heard you walking around the bathroom. And I was here the whole time. I even told you to turn it back on while I was out there," said Holly. We both to this day just swore it had to be one of us who did it so we could sleep easier, but as we've been talking about these occurrences, we now know that neither of us actually did it. Yeah, I guess that's creepy, right? Especially if you're in that state. And I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, what it is. One of my ghost encounters happened when I was in the shower, and I don't know what it is about being naked, but when creepy stuff happens, it's already enough to process. But for some reason, when you're naked, it just feels so much worse. You just feel so much more vulnerable. And I suppose it's like we're clothed every day of our lives. We are clothed in some form or another. And when we're not clothed, I suppose it's a psychological thing. We feel like we're just a little more vulnerable, like, this thin layer of cotton or polyester or whatever the hell this is made out of is, like an armor of sorts. So when it's gone, when weird things happen, you just feel like there's just less to keep you safe. And I don't know if it's just it must be a psychological thing. For me, it was anyway. When the shower water went ice cold when I was in the house alone, I was just like, what the hell's going on? And I was convinced that my wife at that time had come home. And when I got done and opened the shower curtain, boom, the hot water was just blasting in the sink just outside of the shower. And I got the weird body chills, like, ugh, I don't know how to explain it, but it was, I think it was just because I was all buck naked in there showering and I wasn't alone, So very strange, but it definitely multiplies the effect of having something paranormal happen. So the next story is coming out of New York. And this one is kind of long. Not too terrible, but yeah, it's pretty long. All right. So I'm going to get reading this. It says, just about 9 months ago, my fiance at the time, and now my wife, bought a house in upstate New York, approximately 50 miles from New York City. We purchased a Cape Cod house. I think they meant COD, C-O-D. They put an E on the end. With plans of demolishing the whole second floor and turning the house into a colonial. The house was on the market for about 6 months before we came to an agreement and had our closing. And when we first went to see the house, I remember my wife, the agent, my mother, and father-in-law walking through on a tour. And I remember walking into one of the bedrooms that appeared to be previously occupied by a child, because you can still see some crayon on the floor, which at the time was odd because usually the seller would apply a fresh coat of paint over the walls before putting it on the market. It was apparent everywhere else that a fresh coat was applied before it went on the market. And I remember being the last one out of the room. And when right before I was exiting the room, I was sure I've heard someone following me, clearly hearing footsteps right behind me. But when I turned to hold the door open, there was nobody there. That was something I kept to myself because I thought maybe I was hearing things or didn't want to believe that it was a ghost. But we made the purchase, and 3 weeks later, the roof is coming off and the whole top floor was removed. And we started construction soon after the removal of removal, adding 3 bedrooms, 1 full bath, and an attic with a regular size staircase up to it. The first floor we turned into our garage and our living room and gutted out both bath and kitchen and redid both of those as well. The only 2 rooms in the house that we didn't do anything with besides paint and new windows and central air were the 2 existing bedrooms that were on the first floor. For 2 months, we didn't sleep in the house because of the mess and the dust from the construction. And so my father-in-law, while the house was under construction, would sleep in the crayon bedroom because he was doing the electrical and would get tired and just sleep there. And when I would arrive the next morning from sleeping at my parents' house, he would say, a few times last night I woke up because it felt like someone was holding my nose and covering my mouth. Then he would say that he would hear footsteps upstairs. And recently my light in the attic is on when I arrive home from work, and I leave in the morning after my wife and am the first to arrive home in the evening. I found it on 3 times this week. Yesterday my wife and I were on the couch watching a movie when we heard the water running in the bathtub in the downstairs bath, and I went to check and the faucet was off and the tub was dry. We have a little Yorkie, and sometimes he'll jump up for no apparent reason and bark, but what's odd is when he hears someone, he runs to them or to the door, etc. Occasionally he'll bark like someone is there, but won't go to it. I think I should have had the house blessed before we moved in, and I think that if in fact there was a child ghost or someone there, that he or she isn't bad and aren't really trying to harm us because I would venture to say they would have done so already. But I think maybe they thought we were going to demolish the entire house, which is why they tried to harm my father-in-law while he was asleep. I'm trying to build up the courage to tell it that he or she is no longer living and needs to go to God, but I'm afraid that things will get crazy after that, and I don't want to be forced out of this brand new house that we worked so hard for. Sorry this is long, but I wanted to fully explain the situation so that I can be given the proper advice or guidance in the right direction. That's something that Deb and I talked about on our podcast, the importance of, during an investigation, having someone who is psychic to help on the investigation, if only to help people know where the presences are in the home, but also in the case of things like crossing over spirits that somehow got left behind. And I think that is a really good idea. But I'm not giving away any more. You're going to have to check out the podcast when it airs. So the next one, ladies and gentlemen, is coming from Washington, which is right next door. I'm up in the very north tip of Idaho, so so aloha, the person said I would want to learn to belly dance, but my big butt ain't gonna look cute in that outfit. It's funny just reading these stories and looking up and seeing what's going on. Sometimes it's hard to go back to the stories. That's a conversation I want to hear more about. This is pretty hilarious. All right. Yeah, it's really beautiful up here. Many Musings says, I'd love to visit northern Idaho. It is. It's gorgeous up here. It's honestly just really like living in a postcard. It's some of the most beautiful country in all of America. And I've seen a lot of America. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And it's, at least in the mainland areas, it's really got to be in the top 10, if not the top 5. It's just gorgeous up here. But anyway, in fact, the town that I live in is called Sandpoint. And if you go on, go on Google or something and look up Sandpoint, Idaho, if you can get a shot of what it looks like, there's like a mile-long bridge that goes across the huge lake that surrounds this town. It's called Lake Pend Oreille. And then the town is nestled right at the end of that bridge, and there's a big backdrop of mountains behind it. And honest to God, when I first came here, just visiting. When I first came here, it was dark. And the way that was all lit up in the night, it was just like crossing a lengthy bridge to go into a kingdom. I mean, honestly, it sounds silly, but it really was that picturesque. It was just like, wow. And as you're crossing this huge Lake Pend Oreille, you're looking around and it's all mountains all around the lake. It's really spectacular. It's pretty incredible up here. Not that that's what the show is about, but since it came up, I thought I'd just ad-lib that. Now this one has to do with a Ouija board, and this is from Washington. So let's see what's going on with the Ouija boards. Another long one. Man, I can pick them. All right, so everything started out after I turned 12. That's two words that should never be in the same sentence. 12 and a Ouija board. I'm sorry. Those are not kids' toys. Wow. My cousin's sister and I had a fascination with using the Ouija board. And we'd been using the board for a short while, and every time we used it, the experience was a positive one. One night, some family friends had come over, and I was telling my friend about how I used our Ouija board and how we were communicating with spirits and psychics. She was really skeptical about it, so I was on a mission to prove what me, my sister, and cousin had seen. We went to my bedroom and proceeded to do a seance. These are children. Oh, my God. We made contact with a spirit on the first attempt, and it was an angry one. It kept spelling out vulgar remarks and repeating that it was going to kill us. We were both getting really, really creeped out, so she went and got her cousin, who after a few minutes panicked, rambling, and brought him into the room, and we still had contact with the same entity, as though we'd never stopped using the board. It just kept repeating that it was going to kill us and that we needed to leave the room. So Mr. Mr. Gangsta, cousin, started to argue with the spirit and antagonize it. Oof. He eventually got frustrated with the situation, and we all left the room. That night, I remember ranting on about a ghost in my room to my mom, and she assured me that it was an overactive imagination. A couple of months later, we started experiencing poltergeist activity in our house, and doors opening and closing on their own, lights going on and off in the middle of the night, and particularly the one in the dining room. This light switch has a turnstile knob, so it takes a little more effort to turn it on, rather than just switching or flipping a switch. The kitchen was a hot spot for activity. The cupboards and drawers would open on their own. Cups would fall out of the cabinets and break on the floor in the middle of the night on a frequent basis. And, of course, there's my bedroom. Every night I could hear a deep, heavy breathing like a man slowly panting next to my bed. Oh, jeez. It would all start quiet, get louder and louder, and then stop completely. And I'd have to sleep buried under all of my blankets and pillows just to get a little sleep. I'd wake almost every morning with claw-like scratches on my body. Objects in the house would be repositioned or moved from their original spots to a different place entirely. And we never saw this happen, but it was always confusing to walk into a room and think, how the hell did this get here? We also were seeing a lot of shadows, and I would walk down the hall past all the bedrooms and through the kitchen, and you'd catch it from the corner of your eye or feel a cold gust of wind pass you by. On many occasions, I would be sitting on the couch in the living room doing my homework and stuff, and I would feel fingertips brushing across my hand as I wrote. And this would follow with the walls creaking, starting from one end of the house all the way to the opposite side. I used to be afraid of this being entirely. And later, as years went by, I learned that my fear only gave it energy to manifest the disturbances in the house. It seemed particularly mad at me, though other members of my family experienced many of the same things as I did. I'm now nearly 23 and have not lived in my parents' house for a few years, and my mom still reports to me that there's activity in the house. And when I'm there for family gatherings, I feel the negative energy when it is nearby. It's a similar feeling to if you were about to be attacked by a wild animal or something, and it seems under control now, but it likes to steal silverware. I've had countless encounters with this entity, but I guess those experiences count for another story. My husband's sister-in-law and I are planning an investigation soon. Oh, if anyone has any tips, let me know. Oh, man, we got some phone calls. Yeah, you're right, Julie. I see it. I'll get to the calls in just a second. Let me get through this story. They're planning to investigate. This is the first attempt to capture something, so any advice is welcome. Also, I'll be sharing the results if there are any. Now, first of all, kids shouldn't be using Ouija boards. It's not a game. It's not necessarily dangerous, but it can be. And I don't know why you'd roll those dice with your kids. I don't know why that would be a good idea. And I know historically it's always been sold as a kid's game. Second of all, if you're already having negative activity and you don't have someone that's either going to cleanse or cross the spirit over or whatever, if you investigate it, it's just going to aggravate the situation. Many cases, investigations actually leave the homes in much worse shape than they started. So anyway, I got calls here, so let's get to a call. And this is coming from area code 870. You're on the air.
Hey, it's Virginia.
Hi, Virginia. How you doing?
Hey, Brent. I'm good. Hey, y'all. Hey, last night when you were telling the story, I thought about one, and it was very similar to the story you just told.
Oh, really?
Would you like to hear it?
Oh, sure. By all means.
Okay. So we were doing a job. My husband was doing a job up in the state of Virginia, and some of his employees needed a house to rent. So there was this old house up there, and him and I went to check it out to, see about renting it for the guys. And it was an old, just small house, like little bedrooms upstairs. And it wasn't a very big house, but it had a room built on the back of it. But it had a basement. So I went down in the basement and looked around. And it was pretty creepy down there. Very small basement. Just had like one of them old ringer type washing machines. But when I was coming back up the stairs, they were just plywood and, like 2x4 stairs, nothing fancy.
Okay.
And you could see though where that room on the back had been built on, and like when you're coming up those stairs, you could kind of see under that room. Like it wasn't part of the basement, it was an add-on. And sure. I just got the creepiest feeling from that. It was unnerving. It was really creepy.
Yeah.
So, very creepy. I didn't want to go ever back in that basement again.
Right.
So we went ahead and rented the house for the guys, and I did find out that the sister to this guy that built that house, the old man, I think he died in the house. I'm not 100% sure on that. I can't really remember, but he loved that house.
Uh-huh.
And I remembered because I saw like an old man there. And so I just kind of questioned this woman, like, who had the house, and it was her brother. And so one of the guys decided he was going to take that back room, that built-on room. It was a big room, had a big bathroom and everything. It would have been like a master bedroom type thing.
Sure.
So he wanted to take that room.
Okay.
And some of the other girls took the rooms the guys took the rooms upstairs. Well, they would wake up in the mornings and all the cabinet doors were open in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And they started reporting all kinds of creepy things happening all the time. But things got kind of weird in that back room. And like I said, when I was coming up from that basement down there, I've got like some weird vibes from like just really negative vibes from that area. And I never seen anything. I don't know what it was. Just evil. That's all I know. It just felt very evil. But things started being really weird in that room, like lights would turn on and off, things, just noises in the bathroom, just, them reporting different things. But in the whole house, there was just doors opening and closing, and especially the kitchen cabinets all the time. And I think they said, like, glasses would fall out and break, too. They'd find, hear them dropping, like something was knocking the glasses out of the cabinet.
Oh, geez.
And so, yeah, scary place. I didn't go there, like, very much, but they all was like, let's have a party. And so we went to their party, and a lot of people were drinking beer, and they had some other drinks there. And I remember taking a shot of vodka. That's all. Just one shot of vodka.
Uh-huh.
And a long, long, long time ago, I used to smoke cigarettes, like long time ago. Hadn't touched them in many, many moons. So we all sit down not everybody, but I sit down at the table with a bunch of other people, and all of a sudden, my cigarettes are laying there, and I just pick up the cigarettes and light a cigarette.
Oh.
And my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I don't know." I mean, like, yeah, wow. Totally not me. I do not know what happened, except for I must have been possessed.
Yeah, that's strange. Wow. Well, you are sensitive, so
yeah.
I mean, if yeah, I suppose you always have to be on your guard if you're sensitive, especially in a house with a presence that's feeling, I don't know, it's very active, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really drink anymore now because
Yeah.
I don't want to put my guard down.
Yeah.
I just, yeah. So next thing you know, a lot of the guys, they start arguing and fighting and stuff.
Uh-huh.
I mean, like fixing to throw down fist fighting.
Oh, geez.
And so something evil was going through there at that time. And so we left. And the guy that had that back room, he moved out of that room. He couldn't take it anymore. He's like, I'm out of here. So one of the other guys, a younger guy, he's like, well, I'll take that room. And things are creepy back there for him, too. And I said, how are you sleeping back here? The other guy, he couldn't handle it. And he said, I turn on Christian music at night as loud as I can and go right on to sleep.
Well, that'll do it, yeah. That's cool.
That's what did it. And he stayed there until it was time to move on to the next job.
Wow. That's pretty powerful. Yeah, those houses,
yeah.
I don't know what it is, but especially in basements, and I understand exactly what you're saying, but it seems like basements are really a hotspot for negative things, and I don't know why. I don't know, maybe it's the light, maybe it's that it's dark and secluded and they want to be left alone, but yeah, it's got to be plenty horrible.
Yeah, it in the basement itself, it was very small. Like, I didn't feel anything, but it was just when I was coming up and I was close to that underground part of that addition.
And who knows what was out there?
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't part of the house originally, maybe something was buried out there. You don't know, And,
that's what I'm wondering. I mean, it was evil. Usually I can see things. I can see all kinds of whatever, demons or whatever. I never could make out what it was.
Yeah, and that's for negative entities. Many psychics report that, they can shield themselves. They can hide, and they're not easy to find unless you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me, where my dogs are barking at stuff and I can't. Yeah, but that's another story we'll have to tell another time about that one. But yeah, this was not the only time that I've like something like that's happened to me.
Sure.
When I had a drink of something, and so I had drank just a little bit of wine one time, and we had this. I think you have somebody on the line, so I don't want to talk all night.
Sure. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
You can finish that story.
I can't hear you. What?
You can finish that
Okay,
story.
some friends of mine were coming over, and they wanted to go to the store to get some snacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we all took off, and they're like, "Hey, let's stop by the graveyard." And I was like, "Okay." So we pull in the graveyard, and I can see things they can't. So we pull in, and I'm like instantly rolling my window up. I'm like, all these ghosts start coming towards me, like you would see like a zombies or something. I mean, like they were just coming. And I was like, roll the windows up, like that's really going to help. But, I could see, I mean, that was really creepy. So we left and we get home, and I had only had just a couple of sips of wine before we left. That's why I drove. And so I wasn't really drinking, but I was just sitting there like I had some angel cards, and I was just flipping through them. And I just kept feeling like something was behind me, and I was like, something's not right. I can feel something. And they're like, one of the friends was like, where's your holy water at? Where's that spray bottle? And and I was like, just hang on, man, I'm fixing to find out what this is. I didn't like that creepy feeling.
Sure.
And so I found out one of the ghosts followed me home again.
Wow.
And we went out in the yard. I got on the porch. I got the smudging sage, and I went around all of us and got him. I seen him. He was a little guy with like a white robe on, and he had like a I can't remember what it was. It was a red cross, something on the robe, like an X type thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to take over. I believe he was trying to possess me. I really do. He was that close. I could feel him right behind me. So super close.
Yeesh.
So yeah, I'm like, I'm done drinking because I got to be able to know what's going on. Even one sip, that messes me up,
Just juice for you, young lady. That's it. only juice.
Yep, that's it. Just some water. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories and your experiences. That's amazing.
Yeah, I got plenty more, so I'll call you back again.
Okay.
Sometime.
All right, we'll talk to you then.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Very cool. All right, we got another call here. This is area code 313. You're on the air.
Hello, Brent.
Hi. How are you?
Hey, Brent, Rob. What's going on?
Hey, Rob. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah, hey, good. Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob. A quick shout out to all my people out in the portal.
Oh, very cool. Good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, no problem. Special shout for little Christy Monster Truck on the other end listening in. So, hey, listen, I got a pretty cool story for you guys.
Oh, wonderful. Go ahead.
Sure. Hey, this is about, this is like a ghost story. My niece at the time was she's 21 today. She was 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And my brother and her mom, my sister-in-law, bought a new house in Brownstown, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like in the fall. So come springtime, we were going to, I went down to my brother's to help him, put in his sod, do the flowers, trees, because it's all like barren soil. It was just a house on top of dirt.
Sure.
So I went over to help do all the work for him.
That's it, yeah.
So, yeah, thanks. So he had like a 4 or 5 bedroom. This is like I say about 15 years ago. But I just remember the story so distinctly. It was like, so he had like 5 bedrooms, and I would spend every weekend I went there and I spent the night for about 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
Oh, okay.
So after the first week, we're there and so on and so forth, did our deal and whatnot. And week 2, I go by, and like I said, at the time, he had a niece. My niece is 5 or 6. I had a nephew, 8 or 9. So I'm in. So at the end of the day, I'm in my room because I had a room to sleep in. I was sleeping in the room, and it's pitch black. The hall is pitch black, and I'm laying in my bed, and the door opens. about 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and it opens. My little niece, I see a figure of my niece. You know, it was a shadow. It was shadowy because it was all dark, but the door opens, so there's a hallway light was on,
Mm-hmm.
and I see a little 4-foot figure. My niece had like blonde hair, 4 foot, but I could tell it was a figure of a little girl. And I'm like, "Hey, Laura, it's Uncle Robbie. You want to come in and I'll talk to you or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
The door shuts. So, you know, fine and dandy. I think nothing of it. The next weekend, after the end of work, the door opens. I see this little shadow figure of a girl. But again, I'm thinking it's my niece. I'm like, "Hey, Lauren, it's Uncle Robbie. What's going on? Come on, you want to come in and talk? Sleep with Uncle Robbie? Blah, blah, blah." Door shuts.
Mm-hmm.
Week 3. Now, here's week 3, right?
Right.
Same scenario. Door opens. Now I'm thinking, that little SHIT, door shuts. I get out of my bed and I run down the hall. And the hall in her bedroom was maybe 10 or 15 feet from my room. And I said, "I'm going to catch her playing some jokes on me." So I opened the bedroom door to her bedroom.
Uh-huh.
And I look, and she is in her bed, and she is tucked away as tight as you can be tucked. She's sleeping.
Oh, no.
She's, breathing tight. I mean, and I grabbed the bed because her mom tucks her all nice and tight. I mean, she was tucked in, tight as a kitten. There's no way, as fast as I got out of that bed, ran down the hall, that she could have jumped in at 5 years old and did that. There's just no way. There's just,
Right.
all you mothers out there, you know for a fact that can't happen. I'm like, man. So this goes on, this happens. So I'm like, and to be honest with you, I'm not telling anybody this and whatnot.
Sure.
So maybe a month or two down the road, we all have a get together at my brother's house. Is me and my mother, blah blah blah. And so I said, "Hey, you know what? Next to little Laura, she's 5 or 6. I said, 'Hey, you little son of a gun, you playing a trick on Robbie?' And she's 5 or 6. She don't really know what the hell I'm talking about." So my brother Dave and my sister Karen, my mom, were there. And I said, "You guys, I got to tell you something. I've seen Laura like 3 times in a row last 3 weekends. She would be spying, open the door and play games with me." But I said, "I swear to God, I ran down and said it couldn't have been her because she got her bed all nice and bundled up." My mother says, "Robbie," I go, "What, Ma?" Because she had spent it a couple of times. "Laura's done the same things to me." I'm like, "You're kidding." So I'm like, "Wow, Mom." And I'm thinking my mom's just saying that just to be my mom, get out of the conversation or whatever.
Sure.
So my brother and my sister are looking at me, and they're looking at me with their eyes wide open.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "What?" Karen, my sister, goes, "Oh my God, Rob, that's happened to me and Dave, my brother, a handful of times since we lived here." So we're getting more involved in the conversation. So in their lower part of their home, they had a playroom with French doors, which were made of glass, which you could see through.
Sure.
So Karen would tell me, my sister-in-law would see Lauren, my niece, in the room, playing in her room, and she would be talking.
Oh.
Just like she was talking to somebody, right?
Uh-huh.
So Karen would be kind of looking through the French doors and watch her, kind of get a kick out of it. Paid no mind to it or whatever the first 2 or 3 times. So one other time, though, she sees Lauren getting up, talking to her, and pointing her hands, her little fists are waving, and Karen goes, and, "Lauren, who are you talking to?" She goes, "Oh, Mom, my friend Jenny."
Oh, no.
Oh. And, I think the name was Jenny, but
Sure.
that's right. It might have been a different name. I was using Jenny, the little girl's name. She goes, "Mom, it's Jenny." She goes, "Where's Jenny?" She goes, "Mom, when you come in the room, she took off. She don't want to see you."
Ooh.
So Karen goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Oh, okay." So thinks nothing of it, whatever. A week or two goes by, sees Lauren animated talking to somebody. Karen goes, opens the door. "Lauren, are you talking to Jenny?" "Yeah, Mom, I'm talking to Jenny. But you know what? Every time you open the door, Jenny takes off." So Karen goes, "What does Jenny look like?" "Well, Mom, she's like my size. She's got long brown hair. Mine's blonde, but hers is brown. She's got dark skin, and we hang out all the time. And every time we come in the room, she disappears." And Karen goes, well, is she a nice person? She goes, oh yeah, she's really cool as heck. So they're talking for a little bit. So the third encounter happens, and she's, Lauren talking to Jenny. Goes, tell me about Jenny. Well, Jenny lived here many years ago. She's telling me this used to be her land, her property.
Oh.
So now, after the third encounter, my sister gets with my brother Dave, and he now again, this is a new subdivision. The house is newly bought on new property and such.
Sure.
So my brother starts doing some investigations. He goes back, looking, blah, blah, blah. He's into this because he's thinking, what's wrong with his daughter? Does she see a ghost? What's going on? They really don't know what's going on.
Right.
And I interject my 2 bits like, well, you got to check that property out. I'm saying maybe it's all built on Indian land or reservation or something.
Right.
Well, sure enough, what had happened after my brother got his research done, this property, many years ago, 200 years ago, whatever, it was an Indian reservation, and he's doing research. He's doing some research. And what happened was there was about 20 or 30 families within this tribe, and a revolt happened, and the whole tribe was wiped out. Children, women, men, desecrated.
Oh.
So upon, the further investigation, it was children lost, and after reading that, that's about the extent of the research. It was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So their land was built on an Indian reservation. An Indian tribe was taken out. So I told my brother, I said, it's probably a child
right.
Left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So wow, they're like, yeah, because because my niece Laura would talk to this little girl, this ghost girl, which her mom couldn't see, but Laura could see her perfectly,
Right.
And so it's like, wow. So that freaked out my brother and my sister. So like within a year they moved. So but the funny thing is, like, this is like 3 or 4 months ago, I talked to Lauren, and I'm like, hey, do you ever talk to that little, when you're a little girl back at your old house? She goes, who? Like, she goes, what are you talking about, Rob? I go, your mom, remember your playroom? Yeah, I remember my playroom stuff. You remember talking to a little person, a little girl? And she's like, looks at me with a blank face. Like, she goes, no. And then Karen happened to tell me she has no recollection of any of that,
Wow.
And I experienced the 3 things. Karen, my mother, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
It called her Jenny. She played, and until this date, it's kind of like that's how the story ends. She has no recollection. It's like,
wow.
And then you put 2 and 2 together about the Indian reservation, the massacre, or the deaths that happened, and children died, and men and women.
Right.
So yeah, that's got to be sacred land or something, because for her, the only thing that's kind of crazy she don't remember, but there's got to be a reason for that, I guess, maybe.
Sure. Right.
That I don't quite understand.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
But that's the tale. Yeah.
That's amazing, though. What a fascinating story, and I believe in that kind of stuff completely. I think that's entirely plausible. It's too bad she doesn't remember it, though. That's kind of the tragic part.
Yeah, Devin's so great, because I was thinking, because when she got older, I said I didn't want to, because Laura's kind of fragile. She's kind of, you want to. She gets frightful of certain things. It's funny, throughout her life, she's frightened of certain things. Like.
Yeah.
Girls, she has like all her friends are like boys, but she's not, she's little boyfriends or whatever, but not, not
Sure.
she'll date or nothing, but she has like just one girlfriend that she met in like 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what she is? She's a Native American.
Oh.
And I think that's kind of strange too, because
right.
that's her only friend since 7th grade. She's 21 today. and she's got like a couple boyfriends she hangs out with, talks to, but no other girls. No other girls except for this one woman, or not woman, girl in her 20s. They're both in their 20s now.
Sure.
That she speaks with.
Wow. That's
That's
really,
that's
cool.
that's different. You know what I mean?
It is, but it's like she's almost imprinted with that's a good person just because of the nationality. And because of some part of her probably does remember that, but maybe not on a conscious level, but subconsciously.
Yeah.
She probably
because she and I. Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
She probably remembers that, and it imprinted on her in a way that was a friend.
Yes, because me and Laura, we're pretty tight. We're pretty close. I love her like my own daughter, and I don't push the subject. She tells me just about everything, and it's like, and I every once in a while I'll bring it up, and she's like, "Uncle Rob, I don't really know what you're talking about." To be honest with you, she remembers the room. She remembers playing. Whether she knows, don't want to tell me. Who knows? But then with her other friend, it's just kind of, it's
unusual.
I don't say creepy. It's unusual, know.
Yeah, it is. But it's hard to know what the nature of that was, or if maybe she wasn't. Sometimes when with and perhaps she's a bit psychic, and so maybe some of that was just. I don't know. A lot of psychics get into a different state than their normal waking state. They get to a different level of concentration. So maybe that's part of why is she was just in a psychic state having this conversation. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
Well, very cool, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Yeah. That's how you guys know, and enjoy the rest. Good show tonight, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. Have a good night, and thanks again for calling.
You're welcome. Bye.
Very cool. I love it when you guys reach out. It's always wonderful to share your experiences. That's really what the show is always about. It's it's about any of this stuff is great, and it's wonderful to discuss and to think about what are the possibilities. Why doesn't she remember? But her one friend is Native American, so yeah, I really believe that imprinted somehow on her on a very fundamental level. But maybe when she was in those playtime or playing with this child or talking with this child, she was in more of a channeling state, a psychic state. I don't know how to put that into the appropriate terms, but and maybe that's why she doesn't really remember. But maybe, like Rob said, maybe she does. Maybe she does remember, but she just doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know. Very cool, though. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to about wrap up our show for tonight. We covered a few stories, had a few great phone calls, and that's about the best I can ask for of any bedtime story night. So thank you all for being here and being a part of the show. Thank you all for coming in and sharing in the conversation and the camaraderie. Again, remember the new podcast episode drops tomorrow. So I hope you guys will check it out. It really would mean a lot to help support that endeavor for the portal, and we'll make it grow and grow. But I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. And find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. You guys have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow night with Mr. Don here in the house, and we'll get into some mayhem. So stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow night.